Almost 6 years ago, in July 2018, my older sister went to the hospital for pneumonia, and the doctors discovered the right ventricle of her heart was enlarged, and they recommended her to a cardiologist. Fast forward to August, and the cardiologist performed a few tests but found nothing wrong, so they told her to just monitor it. This is when my sister moved back into my parents' house as she was struggling with breathing. In September, my sister got a low-grade fever and wanted to go to the hospital. However, my mom told her to wait as it was so low, but eventually dropped her off at the hospital on the way to run errands with me. When we got back to the hospital, my sister was admitted and the nurse wouldn't inform us of what was happening. For the next 3 to 4 days, my sister was barely cognizant, but the hospital wouldn't tell us of what was going on as she was 24. Whenever we asked a question, they would reply that she was an adult and we can ask her. When we informed them that she was not cognizant or coherent, they would still insist that she's an adult, and they informed her of what was going on, so we should ask her. At the end of the first week, with the help of a family friend, we found out that my sister was septic, and due to the friend's connection to the charge nurse at the hospital, we were finally being informed of what was happening. After an additional week of blood drawing and scans, and even at one point my sister coding, they finally arrived at the diagnosis of lupus. Once she was discharged, my sister was very weak, and even after several months, she couldn't walk up the stairs due to the toll it took on her physically. Through the final months of 2018, my sister was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, an enlarged right ventricle of the heart due to pulmonary hypertension and lupus, Sjogren's, and rheumatoid arthritis. In 2019, after several visits to many different specialists and hospital visits, my sister was struggling with depression and anxiety. So she set up an appointment with a therapist. However, she didn't realize that the therapist's office was on the second floor and there was no elevator. And despite it being several months since the first time she was in the hospital, my sister was, and even still to this day, has very limited physical capabilities. In fact, throughout a large portion of 2019, I and my mother would have to help my sister walk into appointments and upstairs. After the appointment with the therapist, she relayed to our mother that before the appointment, she struggled to get up the stairs and had to take breaks, and she barely got to the appointment on time. And after she told the therapist about everything she was struggling with, both physically and mentally, the therapist told her that she should try going outside for walks for her depression. And when my sister told her that she could not physically do this, the therapist told her she is lazy and physically unfit. And she just needed to get up and do more. Needless to say, my sister never went back to that therapist, not only because of the inaccessibility of the clinic, but also the therapist's attitude and dismissal of her disabilities and medical conditions. This is the primary reason why autoimmune diseases like lupus are considered an invisible disability, as it is often overlooked and dismissed even in the medical field, despite how life-altering they can be.